Welcome along, fellow fans of the Dakota. Architect Peter Marino once said, quote, "Appropriateness is the central point of architecture. A palace should look like a palace. A loft should look like a loft. A hot dog stand should look like a hot dog stand. And an apartment in the Dakota should look like an apartment in the Dakota, not a shake spread in the Olympic Tower." End quote. In September of 2019, this gorgeously grand 11-room residence at the Dakota was put up for sale for $11 million. Many Dakota fans are always asking me who owned or owns certain apartments, and sometimes they even get asked who designed them. Well, check this out. This apartment was once owned by education and media bigwig Chris Whittle. He's the genius who conceived Edison schools. He also founded Avenues, the World School, now one of New York City's 10 largest private schools. He hired American architect Peter Marino to transform his Dakota apartment into an extraordinary space. Marino is renowned for his exceptional architectural and design projects, as well as his distinctive personal fashion style, often described as a, quote, tattooed biker look, end quote. This unique fashion sense includes predominantly black clothing, leather, adorned with buckles and studs, and a leather cap, kind of like how I dress, just kidding, which Marino refers to as a decoy. The apartment sprawls out across 4,500 square feet and features 12-foot ceilings, restored original details, and some contemporary flourishes, including ash black wood floors and hand-painted walls. The photos I'm going to show you are from a House and Garden article from August of 1987 and from a September 2019 real estate listing. Let's go. When Chris Whittle purchased the apartment in the Dakota, it was a dilapidated, seriously, dilapidated, that's how it was described, 6-room space. By the time Marino finished his work, not a single inch of the original apartment, ceilings, walls, moldings, floors, remained untouched by him. He tackled everything. You see, Marino aimed to design and decorate the apartment as if, and this is really cool, Chris Whittle was its first resident in 1884. Cool, right? This required not only renovation, but complete reconstruction, demanding extensive research, resources, and a heck of a lot of imagination. The project was comprehensive. We're talking about A to Z. Everything was specially curated for the apartment, down to the Georgian silverware. Marino amassed an impressive collection of 19th century European paintings, drawings, watercolors, and early 20th century American paintings. He even acquired a major pottery collection, Georgian cut crystal, American bronze decorative objects, and 19th century English feldspar and jasper items. He also assembled a collection of antique Russian, French Empire, and 17th century English twirled wood candlesticks. You see, Marino wanted candlelight everywhere. He also wanted fires in all the fireplaces and gold gilding shimmering on the furniture. Following 19th century tradition, the major rooms were painted in strong colors: oxblood for the dining room, gold for the living room, and terracotta for the study. These were done using ultramarine 19th century pigment paints mixed with milk. The apartment's halls were neutral, so the central core, a long, windowless space called the gallery, was painted pale gray and decorated with stencils. Dominating the gallery was a full-length portrait by American Impressionist Richard Miller, depicting a woman in a white shawl looking into a mirror above a commode. Marino found a large, oval, Regency mirror similar to the one in the painting and hung it perpendicular to it, suggesting it had been the artist's model. For the curved steel frames of the upholstered bench in the gallery, Marino used a company that's been making buggy springs for over a century. The apartment enters into a 21-foot grand entry gallery, complete with its own wood-burning fireplace. This leads to the entertaining center of the home. The stencils in the front hall were adapted by Peter Marino, and they were inspired by Edwardian Art Nouveau curtains framing the doorway to the living room. There was a Charles X clock that sat atop the Frank furnace fireplace beneath In a Rug Bazaar by George Henry Hall. The space was further adorned with an English Regency table from Jean Tyson and a 19th century Sultanabad carpet from antique rug dealer Doris Leslie Blau. The long corner living room has mahogany millwork, ash black floors, and an ornate wood-burning fireplace. Mr. Whittle had an 1870 massive rosewood piano in that room. When he lived there, the living room featured Lady on a Gold Couch, circa 1906, by F.C. Friseca, above the sofa. To the right was a large bronze statue of Nathan Hale by Frederick MacMonnies, which stood beyond goffered silk pillows, two of which were made from 17th century fabrics. The living room also housed imperial Russian dessert plates on a 19th century table from Jean Tyson. Elsewhere, two English 19th century carved walnut chairs faced each other next to a French Empire chair. The 12-foot-high gold thread curtains on the portal from the gallery to the living room were from a set of 8 late 19th century aesthetic movement curtains by Templeton of Glasgow, previously an old warrior castle in Wiltshire. Marino has often worked directly with small factories in England, Italy, and France. And so the silk for the living room sofa was made in Lyon, France, and the sofa itself was designed by Marino after an 1880s model, and was crafted by a company of Parisian textile artisans that were in business for 140 years. The adjacent formal dining room features a gold leaf ceiling, Juliet balcony, its own fireplace, and original pocket doors. When Mr. Whittle lived there, the dining room was illuminated by a grand Flemish chandelier, which showcased a griffin motif on the fire screen, Frankfurtness mantle, and a 19th century French carpet. Above the fireplace hung a 1645 still life by Paulus van Bos, flanked by 12 18th century French paintings of Roman emperors. A crouching lion by Antoine Louis Barye sat on a French 19th century table with George III chairs covered in Cowan and Tout silk damask. The 2019 listing described the bright and spacious kitchen as, quote, reminiscent of a Parisian bistro, end quote, featuring Carrara marble countertops and tile floors. Located nearer to the private wing of the home, the large library includes a dramatic fireplace and windows that overlook the building's inner courtyard. At the end of the hall, leading to the master bedroom, hung a large 1903 pastel portrait of a young man depicting a French aristocrat in Edwardian attire seated at the top of stairs leading to a library. The west wing houses the bedrooms, consisting of a master suite, 2 additional large bedrooms, a den or smaller 4th bedroom, a sitting room, a separate kitchen, a laundry room, and a service entrance. The master suite boasts 2 full-size bathrooms and 2 walk-in closets. For Mr. Whittle, the master bedroom's curtains were made of thick green wool that resembled a carpet, and were produced by the same French factory that crafted jackets for Napoleon's army. How cool is that? A pair of Parisian posts served as lamps on either side of his bed, their bronze mountings encrusted with gold filigree and semi-precious blue and red stones that caught and refracted the light. At the time that Mr. Whittle lived there, the terracotta-colored guest room/study featured Lady at a Writing Table circa 1890 by Julie Marest, and it was located to the left of pen and ink drawings of European street scenes by Lester Hornby. On the right, there was a French Empire desk and chair opposite a slipper chair in its original fabric from around 1865. Above the northern Italian walnut bed circa 1800 hung a study for a painting of a parish church in Paris by Henry Leroux. The room also included a Charles X chair and a 19th century Turkish rug from antique rug dealer Doris Leslie Blau. Kilim carpets hung as curtains on either side of the sleeping alcove, which inspired the stencil patterns for the walls and ceiling. Every detail and moment of creative work came to fruition one evening when Marino and Whittle hosted an intimate dinner for friends, where they celebrated the completion of the Dakota apartment. The only touch left for Mr. Whittle and Mr. Marino was for them to have a horse-drawn carriage transport their guests to and from the Dakota for dinner. And for all we know, they may have even done that. In fact, if Mr. Marino or Mr. Whittle are watching this video, will you please contact me? I've got a few questions. By the way, if the current owner of this Dakota apartment is watching this video, will you kindly invite me over for a visit? As you probably know by now, I will even bring the tea and scones. That offer, by the way, extends to all current and future Dakota residents and residents of any other cool spaces. So what do you think of this Dakota apartment? If you were rolling in dough, would you buy that cool pad and decorate it like that? You know I would. Kindly let me know your thoughts about this apartment and living in the Dakota in the comments below. By the way, if you want to support my research and productions, please check out the links below. Among other things, you can buy my books about the architecture and history of the Dakota and other cool buildings, such as the Ansonia, Friar Park, Tittenhurst Park, and more. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.